Hey everyone, what's up? Today we're going to take a look at the BEELINK SER8 mini PC, which is sporting a 2-year-old but still quite powerful mobile CPU in form of the Ryzen 7 8745HS with 8 Zen 4 cores plus hyperthreading. That in this mini PC here runs at around 50 to 55 watts stable in balanced mode. And it won't throttle even after 30 minutes of full load with around 80 degrees Celsius at a room temperature of around 24 degrees Celsius ambient. That CPU also comes with the famous Radeon 780M iGPU that we know from so many gaming handhelds and AMD CPUs. Just for full disclosure, the SER8 was provided to me by BEELINK for this review, but I did not receive any financial compensation. BEELINK didn't get to see the video beforehand and they didn't tell me what to say or test or do. Despite the RAM crisis, this version here is still packed with 2x 16GB DDR5 5600 mega transfer per second sticks for a total of, yes, 32 GB of RAM, while it's also available with different RAM configurations. It supports up to 256 GB, by the way. In today's config for $889 or 820 euros before any discounts, it comes with a super fast and high quality 1TB Crucial P310 SSD that can do over 5 GB per second reading and writing speeds. And the 2 M.2 slots in here support up to 8 TB per slot. A small 120 watt proprietary AC adapter is included, while on idle I measured a total power draw of only around 6.5 watt and a maximum of up to 95 watt on the full load in performance mode. The BEELINK SER8 can be used with a strong USB-C charger as well. We're also getting Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.2, while it also sports Windows 11 Pro, which unfortunately has some Wondershare apps pre-installed. I think that's kind of the first time I saw something like that in a mini PC ever. Included in the package is also an HDMI cable, but no VESA mount, so it's only usable on a desk. At the front, the BEELINK SER8 comes with a USB 3.2 Type-A port, a USB-C port with 10 gigabits per second, and a 3.5mm audio jack. And at the back, we're having the proprietary power connector, a USB-C 4 port that can also be used for display out, and eGPUs work as well. There's also a fast 2.5 gigabit LAN port, another 3.5mm audio jack, a DisplayPort 1.4, an HDMI 2.1 port, and 2 USB 2.0 ports for peripherals, and another USB 3.2 Type-A port. So that's a pretty nice selection of ports. No complaints from my side for what it's supposed to be. But be aware that there are neither microphone nor speakers. It weighs around 750 grams and the very firm case is entirely made out of a dark silverish metal unibody, but the bottom is made out of plastic. I actually found the darker silver very refreshing. And it can be opened for upgrades by releasing 4 screws below small rubber parts in the edges below here, and after that removing a dust filter. Now inside we get access to the 2 RAM slots and the 2 full-sized PCI Express 4.0 M.2 slots, which are hidden under a big heatsink next to the Wi-Fi card. There's no control center software for performance modes or fan speeds, firmware updates, etc. But in the BIOS there are very few minor options for some tweaking. There's also a switch for balanced and performance mode though. And this affects the total CPU power, 54 watt versus 65 watt. However, the cooling system is doing a great job. The SER8 stays super silent all the time, basically unhearable when idling, and even under full load it's definitely very bearable with around only 34 decibels. In balanced mode, the CPU uses 54 watt and the SER8 is able to maintain the full performance in the long run at a temperature of around 81 degrees Celsius in a room with an ambient, as said before, of around 24 to 25 degrees Celsius. Using the performance mode, the CPU uses 65 watt and quickly reaches some sort of a hard limit of 90 degrees Celsius, which is when the TDP slowly starts to decrease to around 59 watt. So it can't maintain full speed in performance mode infinitely. For Cinebench 2023, the SER8 scored a high 15,976 points for the multi-core in balanced mode and 16,948 in performance mode, while in both cases the single core score was around 1,725 points. The single core definitely shows that it's not the newest CPU, but it's still enough for basically anything you can throw at it. And for the new Cinebench 2026, it reached a GPU score of 6596, a CPU multi-score of 3816, a CPU single-core score of 566, and a CPU single-thread score of 422 points. And here you can see the results for Geekbench 6 and also the brand new Geekbench 7 benchmark for the Ryzen 7 8745HS in here. In the new PC Mark 10, it scored a decent 8467 points, meaning it's blazing fast for everyday usage. I ran latency mon for 10 minutes and the results have been pretty good, and it seems as if the system could actually handle real-time audio without any problems. In 3D Mark Firestrike, I got a total of 7806 points, which is a good result for a 780M iGPU, while the physics score was noticeably higher than the graphics score, of course. And for TimeSpy, I saw a total of 3308 points. The smaller Intel graphics iGPU is not specifically meant for AAA gaming, but some new games actually run pretty well. For example, the still quite popular extraction shooter Arc Raiders was actually running damn fine and stable with an average of 70 FPS and good 1% lows of 50 using 1080p with low settings and FSR unbalanced. And to be honest, all things considered, I would definitely play the game that way. It's absolutely doable and fun. I basically had no issues, no stuttering, no hiccups, fluid gameplay. But actually maybe well, this here was a driver issue, I guess. Not sure about that, but this only happened in the extraction zone at the end. For Forza Horizon 6, which is way more demanding on our hardware compared to its predecessor, I was using 1080p with low settings and FSR on balance once more, which resulted in definitely playable 65 to 71 FPS on average with 1% lows of around 55 to 57. And these numbers have been a bit different for free roaming and races that I was playing on the BEELINK SER8, depending on the track and weather conditions, etc. So I mean, it's not as fluid as Forza Horizon 5 was, and I had to make use of FSR on balance, but 69 to 70 FPS is definitely doable for a fun racer. But please feel free to let me know what you think about that. And Counter-Strike 2 ran surprisingly well with 150 FPS on average and 1% lows of 90 FPS, playing a match against bots on Dust 2 using the low preset, but FSR was turned off. I mean, it's an easy game to run, sure, but still 150 FPS for a meanwhile older iGPU and CPU like the Radeon 780M is pretty okay if you ask me. Definitely doable for some casual fun, I guess. Felt good enough. Now, Cyberpunk 2077 is a bit tougher to run with medium settings at 1080p, and we can now even use FSR 4 on these RDNA 3 chips, which is pretty cool. So I was using the balanced mode for this one. And you can see the frame time graph is a bit wild and it wasn't optimal, while I still think it's kind of playable if you're not too demanding. Around 46 FPS on average and 1% lows of around 31 doesn't sound too terrible considering we're even using medium settings, but again, the frame times have been a bit here and there. I also want to point out that temperatures and FPS and fan noise have been stable even in 1 hour gaming sessions, so there was no severe thermal throttling whatsoever. BeELink did a really fine job with the cooling system in here. Overall, for $800, we're getting a very solid mini PC with a whopping 32GB of RAM that really shines considering temperatures and the great fan system, which really is very silent once again. Decent port selection, we can give it some upgrades. It's definitely enough for some casual gaming thanks to the 780M, and for stuff like image editing, video editing, it will definitely do its job as a regular office PC and a bit beyond that. It's not the newest hardware for sure, and the SER8 was released 2 years ago, but it's a fair price considering the build quality of the mini PC, the low fan noise, the port selection, the material and the overall performance, especially considering the 32GB of RAM in the current market, where the RAM and SSD alone cost $400, which is literally like half the price you'd have to pay for this. PS, I'll post a discount code for Amazon in the comments and the video description in case you want to try it out for yourself. And that's already all for today. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to like the video and/or subscribe to the channel, which really helps a lot. Thank you very much. Also, thanks for watching until the very end. See you next time. Bye bye and tschüss.